Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. I think Everton have just played a game of footy. It's the instant match reaction. Arsenal 5, Everton 1 at the Emirates on the final game of the final game of the season. And I'm just absolutely made up that this season is over, to be perfectly honest with you. Listen, today's game was very much a formality. As I said yesterday, it was almost like the post-credit scene of our season. You know, the season really ended with the amazing final scene of the film, which was on Thursday night, and this was just like the post-credit scene that you wait around for, and it's never really that good. And that was exactly what it was today. You know, it was a dreadful game of football. It was a dreadful result. It was a really, really poor defensive performance. But it doesn't really mean anything, does it? Because, you know, these players exerted so much on Thursday, and the manager, you know, got everything right on Thursday, that it meant that today, you know, ultimately didn't mean anything in regards to us being in a relegation fight, because we were already obviously guaranteed survival. As it happened, Burnley ended up being relegated. Leeds scoring the last minute winner against Brentford away from home. I can only imagine how those Leeds fans are feeling at this current moment. And obviously we know there's been drama at the top of the Premier League table as well, which was quite interesting to see and hear about. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of Evertonians were more focused on what was going on around the league rather than what was going on at the Emirates. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of the Blues that were at the Emirates were maybe a little bit more focused on what was going on elsewhere as well. But no, listen, as I said, it's disappointing. You know, I can't come on here and do an instant match reaction and pretend I'm not bothered, or pretend I'm unfazed, or pretend that I'm going to sit here happy and smiling and made up and all of that, because we've just lost, you know, a game of football 5-1, and ultimately the performance wasn't very good. Defensively, we were really, really poor. We didn't take some chances we had early on in the game to capitalise and maybe give Arsenal a bit more of a difficult afternoon, and we made it quite comfortable for Arsenal, didn't we, really? A little bit like we did for Manchester City at the end of last season. You know, we just made it far too comfortable for them. And considering they needed to rely on Tottenham losing, and Tottenham ended up winning 5-0 away at Norwich, you know, we made it comfortable for them in the sense of that it was almost like we made them think, well, you know, you'll win, so you don't have to worry about Tottenham not winning, which isn't what we want to see, and isn't what we want to, see as fans and witness as fans. And, you know, ultimately, look, coming into this game, I said it's another game of football. It's another opportunity to win. It's an opportunity to end the season on a high. It's an opportunity to end the season positively. And we haven't been able to do that. And, you know, that I suppose follows the trend of most of our last games of the season in recent years, where we've not got very much to play for, and we go in and, you know, we put performances in like that. And thankfully we had absolutely nothing to play for today, and thankfully that result means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of the Premier League. And as I said, I'm just absolutely over the moon now that this season is over. My happiness and relief and excitement at the fact that this season is over completely outweighs my upset or anger or frustration or sadness at that result today, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think that was always going to be the case regardless of the result today. I was always just going to be over the moon that this season is finally fucking over and we can forget about it now. We've survived, we're in the Premier League next season. You know, we obviously had Thursday, which was absolutely unbelievable, and you know, was a day and a night that I don't think any of us will ever forget for the rest of our lives. And this game, as I said, was very much just a formality. Get through it, whatever happens, just be thankful that this god-awful disease of a season has finally come to an end. And that's exactly what has happened. As I said, there's this big work now for Frank Lampard and his team to do in the summer. Obviously, Kevin Thelwell's come in as director of football, and we haven't really heard or seen much of him recently, and that's because a lot of the focus has been on the team and Frank Lampard and getting the results and the performances that we needed. And now I'm sure over the next coming weeks and months, you know, we'll hear a lot more from Kevin Thelwell as the director of football, and what the I suppose the plan is for Everton, and what the direction is for Everton over the coming couple of months or so, and long term wise over the coming couple of years, but certainly over the next few months or so with the summer transfer window. So the hard work really begins now. for Frank Lampard. It's easy to look at the last couple of months since he's joined Everton Football Club and say that was the hard work. Keeping Everton in the Premier League was the hard work, getting the results, getting the performances, all of that sort of stuff. And that was hard work, don't get me wrong, because I think today has shown that this team and this group of players, albeit we were missing a couple of key players in there. Richarlison obviously had a little bit of an injury, so he wasn't in the squad whatsoever. Jordan Pickford, I think, had been given the day off, and rightly so. And there was a couple of players playing in there that wouldn't be starting important games of football for Everton, and may never play games of football for Everton again, i.e. John Joe Kenny, i.e. Asmir Begovic in there as well. So, it today did show that this team and this squad and some of these players have still got it in them to put in woeful performances and make awful decisions and not be able to do the basics of football. But ultimately, I think a lot of people would have the argument of that, at the end of the day, we done everything we needed to do on Thursday. We come back in emphatic fashion. I mean, those coming back from 2-0 down to win a game 3-2 and having a pitch invasion, that's become quite a thing, hasn't it? Recently, we had an amazing day on Thursday, and I'm sure those Manchester City fans down at the Etihad are having an amazing day today as well, which is always nice to see. Nice to see football fans enjoying coming back from 2-0 down and winning 3-2 and then having a little pitch invasion, a safe one at that, which I assume it is down at the Etihad. But no, as I said, that the hard work really, really, really does begin now for Frank Lampard. He's got to go through this team, get rid of some of the players that just simply aren't good enough. Obviously, get rid of a lot of the players that are out of contract and don't deserve a new contract and shouldn't be getting a new contract. And as I said, try and move those on that aren't out of contract, but ultimately are not good enough to be, a player at this football club. That they're not at the level, or their commitment isn't there, or their desire isn't there, or whatever it may be. Just move. I think a fair few, members of this squad on and move them off the football club, because I think we can all agree that although Thursday was unbelievable and although the last couple of weeks have been much better than what we've witnessed, that still doesn't excuse the fact that we were in this position in the first place. And one of the big reasons as to the fact we were in this position was the fact that the players simply weren't good enough for the majority of this season and didn't care enough for the majority of this season. And as I said, Frank has now got a humongous task on his hands to not only be able to move those players on that just aren't good enough, but also to bring players in that can replace them that are good enough, bring players in that are going to drastically improve Everton, that are going to ensure that we're not in this situation again next season. Because that's my biggest worry, is not doing the right business this summer and finding ourselves in a position like this again next season, which would just be absolutely horrific. I don't think I could go through another season like this. I really, really don't. So massive work for Frank Lampard, massive work for Kevin Thelwell. Obviously, for me, I think a lot of the board have got to go. In fact, I think every member of the board has got to go now. They simply can't have watched that season and accept that surviving on the penultimate game of the season in the way in which we did was acceptable, and believe that they're still doing a good job. I think the owner should be looking to sell the football club, because it's clear that he hasn't got a clue. I mean, his tenure at Everton Football Club is summed up by the signings of Josh King and Anwar El Ghazi, more so Anwar El Ghazi, who again wasn't featured today. We brought a player in on loan, took a loan space up, paying him a load of money, and he's played 15 minutes since he's been here, and we've been in a relegation battle needing players with pace and agility and ability to score goals, and he still hasn't been in the squad. So again, there's massive issues at this football club, and we'll address them in greater detail when we do our season review. The season is over now, but that doesn't mean that the videos are over. That doesn't mean that the live streams are over. That doesn't mean that the content will dry up in any way, sense or form. If anything, the content will be greater, because we haven't got the stresses and the anxieties of watching Everton Football Club week in, week out now for the next few weeks, or the next few months, of course. Midway through next week, we'll be doing the season review, where we go through the entire season and just talk about what an absolute dreadful, as I said, disease of a season this has been. We'll have the season player ratings, where we go through every player and give them a rating for the base of their season, on the base of their season. That will probably be before the season review, and then of course in coming weeks we'll be talking about the board and what decisions Frank Lampard needs to make. We're going to do a keep or sell video as well. We'll of course have the review to this game on Monday as well. So loads more content coming up. As I said yesterday, I just want to thank everybody for sticking with me throughout the course of this season, and supporting the channel and staying with us even when it has been really, really grim. And today was another one of those games that was really, really grim. And I had a couple of people tweeting me saying, oh, what are you doing, trying to spread negativity? Because I tweeted when it went to 5-1, I tweeted, oh, 5-1, absolutely embarrassing defending, and people saying, oh, stop spreading negativity, it doesn't mean anything, this, that and the other. All I was doing was watching Everton. I mean, there'll have probably been a lot of people who weren't really bothered about watching Everton today, but watching other games, and that's fine, that's your choice. I was watching Everton because I'm an Evertonian, and I wasn't impressed and wasn't happy with what I was watching, albeit, as I said, the overriding relief and happiness of the fact that this season is finally over, and the fact that we've managed to guarantee survival outweighs my feeling of upset or, anger towards today's result and today's performance. But, as I said, thank fuck we can just move on now. Thank fuck we can put this behind us and we can actually move forward. I'm not going to sit here and go through every single one of Arsenal's goals because I just can't be arsed. 3 of them come from set pieces, 4 of them maybe even come from set pieces. It's nothing we don't know already. We're absolutely dreadful at defending set pieces, absolutely woeful at defending set pieces, and that absolutely needs to change. And that's something that if Frank Lampard spent the next 3 months with this team just working on set pieces, I don't think I'd have much of an issue with it, to be perfectly honest with you, because our defensive ability at defending corners and crosses into the box is just fucking embarrassing. A couple of the other goals come from again poor marking, poor decision making. I thought Asmir Begovic was poor today, really, really, really poor. But again, he was given an opportunity to get in there. The manager said he's been working hard, he's been fighting for this position. So, look, I suppose it is what it is. Our goal, again, really, really well played by Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Done well to keep the ball, hold the ball up, move it forward, put it across the box, and then obviously Donny van der Beek, which was nice to see Donny van der Beek on his last appearance in an Everton shirt getting a goal. I don't think Donny van der Beek will ever play for this football club again. He's obviously got a relationship with Erik ten Hag, who's the new Manchester United manager. He was only ever on loan anyway, with no option or view to buy in to my knowledge. So he'll never play for Everton again. He'll never play for Everton again. So nice to see him getting a goal on his final appearance as well. We did have a couple of other chances throughout the game, interestingly enough, before Arsenal really ran away with it. And don't get me wrong, for the entirety of the game, Arsenal were very much the team on top. The first 10 or 15 minutes was really, really, really difficult to watch. Arsenal were just getting forward. We were cramped in our own area. They were throwing everything at us, and they looked like a team that were up for it, and we looked like a team that were just trying to defend and avoid conceding a goal. And as I said, maybe at that point we should have really seen which way, the way in which the game was going. But it wasn't a pretty first 10-15 minutes. It wasn't a pretty 90 minutes, to be perfectly honest with you, but it certainly it started poorly for Everton. But we had chances. Damari Gray had a couple of really, really good chances. He has one where it's bouncing on the edge of the box for him, and adding that Ramsdale is about 400 yards off his line, and for some reason Damari Gray decides to volley it right at him, rather than chip it over him or put it to the side of him, which would have been the right decision, because, as I said, Adam Ramsdale was absolutely miles off his line, and I think Damari Gray just panics a little bit. I think he rushes his decision, and he doesn't quite take in the fact that Adam Ramsdale is so far off his line that if he actually just curls it round him or dinks it over him, it's a guaranteed goal. And I think it might have even been 0-0 at that point, or certainly 1-0. So we'd have been right in the game at that point. It was 0-0, I think. He had another couple of chances up the other end of the pitch at times as well. But other than that, we didn't really have much. Listen, the game was the game. The 5-1 scoreline isn't flattering in any sense of the imagination. It wasn't like, it wasn't like they deserved. They didn't deserve it, or we deserved more out the game. We were fucking abysmal. We were absolutely abysmal. They had all of the possession from the first minute to the last minute. They created opportunities. They scored 4 goals from set pieces, which just shows how woefully bad we are at defending them. But that's nothing that we didn't know already. We had a couple of opportunities. We scored a good goal, well-worked goal, and the other chances in which we missed. But as I said, this very, very, very much felt like a final day of the season performance where we've got nothing to play for. And I'm not saying that's acceptable. And as I said, if you go back and watch my instant match reaction from the game against Manchester City last season when we lost 5-0 and we had nothing to play for away at the Etihad, I was absolutely raging. I was absolutely fuming. I was much more angry than what I am today, and that's not because I think this is acceptable, but that's because, as I've just said, the relief and the pure joy at the fact that this season is over completely outweighs the anger or frustration that I feel about today's game. As I said, this was always just a formality of a game of football for me. This was always the post-credit scene to Thursday's, final end to the movie, which was what Thursday was, and this was just that post-credit scene that you wait around for, because that's what we've done over the last 3 or 4 days. We've waited around for it, and it's never as good as what you think it will be. But as I said, now we can just move on. We can look forward to having a few weeks without having to worry about Everton, or certainly worry about Everton on the pitch. I'm sure there'll still be some things that are published or transferred news or rumours or whatever that make us all feel a little bit worried, because that's always the case. But at least we don't have to worry about Everton on the pitch, and at least we don't have to worry about Premier League relegation or survival or any of that. And as I said, it's time to go to work now for Frank Lampard. This is the period where the hard work begins, really, for Frank, and the time where he has to ultimately make some big decisions on players and big decisions on who he's going to bring in. We'll obviously lose El Ghazi now, which means very little, doesn't it? We'll lose Donny van der Beek, so he'll have to be replaced. And yeah, the big serious questions need to be asked of the board and certain players and just certain people at the football club who have allowed us to be in the position that we're in. We should never be in a position where we're sitting here on the final day of the season saying, not really asked, that we've just lost 5-1 to Arsenal because we haven't been relegated. That should never be a conversation. Never be a conversation. So yeah, listen, it's over. It's over. Let's just be happy about it. There's not much more to say about this game, because if I'm being honest, again, I was watching it almost thinking, just get me through it. Just get me through it. Get it over with, and let's just finally look forward to this season being over. But yeah, thankfully it's done now. Thankfully we're still a Premier League team. It was Burnley that ended up going down in the end. Leeds, as I said, getting a last-minute winner, which I'm sure was a very joyous moment for all of those Leeds fans. But I didn't care who went down, to be honest with you, as long as it wasn't Everton, and we knew obviously on Thursday night that it wasn't going to be Everton. So, Thursday was still one of the, if not the best day of my life, and it was a day that I will never, ever, ever forget for as long as I live, whereas today is one that I very certainly will forget, and I'll probably forget it over the next 7 days or so. But thankfully the season's over. We no longer have to worry about fighting relegation or whether or not we're going to stay in the Premier League. Certainly not for the time being, and hopefully not ever. And as I said, it's important that Frank Lampard and the club put in place now things that ensure that never happens again, and that will mean a certain number of people losing their jobs, and that will mean a certain number of people needing to be brought in to make sure that we're never in this situation ever again. So there you go. As I said, the content will be flowing over the next week or so don't forget to subscribe if you are new. We'll have a player rating, seasonal player ratings out. We'll have a season review. We'll have a keep or sell video. We'll have a video about Frank Lampard and what he needs to do this summer in order to improve with Everton. And obviously we'll have the player ratings to this game out within the next 15-20 minutes or so don't forget to join us for those. If you are enjoying these videos, by the way, please do hit that like button. A massive thank you to everybody for watching in the live comments. Really do appreciate it. It means a massive amount to me. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe as well. That would mean a great deal to me. But anyway, the season's over. Forget about this game. Doesn't matter. It's done now. It was awful, but it's done now, and we can just finally look forward to a couple of weeks without having to worry about Everton. Hopefully. Big thank you all for watching. Hit the like button if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Big thanks for watching. See you after.